have Mr. Paul Hess, who's currently our mayor. We have Mr. Joshua Macer, who's running alongside of Mr. Neil Watkins, who's also running. What we're going to do tonight is keep it plain and simple. It's just going to be a local meet and greet. We have a microphone on the table. What we're going to do is we're going to allow each candidate to introduce themselves. Pass the mic along to the other, and afterwards we're going to open up the floor for questions. What we would like to do is make sure that we keep it as simple and as fair as possible so that we all understand each other and we go out and have a good evening after we leave here. I hope that's fair to all of them. So let's get started. Mr. Paul Hess, you'll be first, sir. The microphone's in front of you. Please introduce yourself and give a brief explanation about your tenure and what you plan to do.
Can you hear on that? Does that work out? Just making sure.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Paul Hess. I'm the current mayor. I guess kind of give you a little background about myself. I served in the U.S. Army Germany back in the late 70s, early 80s. I am a graduate from LSU, both with a master's and a bachelor's degree in accounting. I was a audit manager for the refineries at Citgo until I retired. Found out retirement didn't really take for me. Didn't have any good hobbies to do, so went back to work, and now am working on the mega projects and projects at Sasol. I also, between those two jobs, I was the comptroller for the town of Iowa, which gave me a good opportunity to understand the finances and where things were being spent and how they were being done. I guess as far as background, I married Arlene Hess, which her maiden name is Cook, which is one of the founding fathers for the town of Iowa, the Cook family. I think Henry Cook, a lot of y'all might have known Henry and all. So we go back a long time for Iowa, mostly on my wife's side. I like to joke that I'm a hillbilly from Arkansas, and I just kind of washed down with the river, and Darlene picked me up and kept me for 40 years, and so I'm really lucky in that case. As far as vision for the town, the last 4 years, I've seen a lot that needs to be done, that should have been done before my term, and we've been able to accomplish a lot of it, given the restrictions that have occurred because of the 2 hurricanes, the freeze, and everything that's gone on. So given all of that, if you want to talk facts, one of the facts is our, how you want to call it, reserve, our general fund, the dollars, when I took over, there were $10 million in there for whatever purposes that the town needs. Given all the projects that you've seen that's been going on, we spent $3 million related to the hurricane cleanup, related to destroyed buildings that we're replacing, and a lot of that we're waiting for the money to come back. But given all of that and the projects you see, the roads that we've done, our bank balance is still about $10 million. So, I just want to kind of say that does show that we are good managers of the town's money, of trying to get all these projects done that the townspeople want to be able to make our community a really great place. Now, going forward, I want to just kind of give you some ideas of some of the things that we're still trying to do is, of course, we want to build a police station. We've acquired part of the land. We still got 2 other parcels that we're going to do so that we can begin building on that here within the next year and a half. And what's so important about that police station is it'll give us a place to weather out another Laura or Delta or heavy hurricane. Right now, we send half of our officers and a majority of our firemen out of the area that's going to be hit. And, we recognize that really they need to stay close to here, especially after you saw what happened with Laura. This will give us those opportunities to weather out. The other thing that I really want to work on, if y'all grant me another 4 years, is we want to have satellite parks, not only in our city park, getting it back up to what everybody wants, but like Ash Ridge and Barkley, and it's right behind here that we put in, 4 or 5 workstations that you can go and walk from your house to do, and be able to have your kids play in a little park without crossing a busy road like 90 or Thompson or one of them. This is the kind of things that make our community special, that really brings us together, because our community is not a well endowed, and I talk about that, the income, probably a third of our people are or at the poverty line. So they need an opportunity to do these kind of things and have a quality of life that some in Lake Charles have and some in Sulphur have. And we want to give them that opportunity. We are expanding the fields, trying to get the baseball fields back in. We've been very aggressive on the roads. We want to continue that. We were looking at 2 roads that we're fixing to repave. When we bid them out, they came in at almost $750,000 to $1 million is what our estimation is. So we're only going to be able to do one because we want to keep within our budget and be able to be physically responsible and do all of those things, but do them without borrowing money, without having to do anything like that. We'll just generate it from our own cash flow, which gives us an opportunity. Before I took over, ditches were not dug. They weren't cutting the grasses in the ditches. We've been very aggressive on that to keep ditches open, to blow out culverts, because flooding is an issue that, while we can't address the underlying condition, which is the lateral, we can address how quickly it drains off and keep people damaged minimally, and this is part of what we need to do. We've also put in, I think, and want to continue, is hardening our infrastructure. That includes standardizing our pumps and our pumping stations so that when something goes down, we can fix it immediately instead of going to a oil advisory while we're waiting for parts. There's a lot of things, and I don't want to regress. I want to give them an opportunity, but I do see that coming. The only other thing that's a little bit controversial that we're looking at is putting in maybe 4 traffic circles on the interstate. What happens, DOTD is looking at that and evaluating it because they're trying to give us options. And there's not a lot of options with all that traffic that's coming in there. And we have to have a solution. Finally, the Blue Mall, we've been working with the lessees of the Blue Mall to try to put in a business there that benefits Iowa. It's just not any business. Yeah, they wanted to put in a truck stop. That doesn't benefit us with the traffic and all of that. But we would be open, the council, this is all upon the council's approval and everything. If they come up with something, a department, a restaurant, a business, I'm talking about a large business that is ideal at the state, we will consider it and probably would be very supportive of it. But until they bring us that stuff, we're not going to give them any options.
That's good stuff. Thank you, Mr. Hess. Mr. Neil Watkins.
My name is Neil Watkins. I am originally from Southwest Louisiana, born in Lake Charles, Memorial Hospital. My mother's family, blended family, been here for generations. My dad was in the Air Force and was stationed in Chenal, and the 2 of those got together, and that's how I got here. But anyway, just wanted to let you know what I see from my vantage point, from my residence, are things that need to be tended to. And they're very simple. And it seems that we have a lot of things that are being mulled over about stuff such as the traffic circles. And I think that we really need to take time and plan out what we're doing. I don't think it should be a knee-jerk reaction in any type of business. I've managed businesses. I own a business. The only reason I've been in business is because I've been able to listen not only to my customers, but to the people I'm responsible to. If it's a corporate side, which I work, I've had to listen to the owners, and I also listen to my employees. And right now, I'm really concerned that nobody's minding the store. And I see it day in and day out as I go through the community. It's kind of tough to keep things in a direction you want it to go when equipment may be broken, maybe not at its fault, but maybe somebody else's. So we've got some stuff that really needs to be cleaned up. And I'm not gonna belabor too much more of that, but if you have any questions
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Joshua Mason.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? All right, hey, I don't like holding on the microphones. My name is Joshua Macer. I am originally from Indiana. I chose to settle here in Iowa. I'm not going to sit here and talk about where my family comes from, what they done, or where they are, or what they do. That should not have an impact on my ability to lead the town here. What you guys should know is that out of everywhere in the world that I could have chose to settle, I chose to settle in Iowa because I believe in this town and I believe in these people. All right, I'm a 10-year, 4-tour combat veteran with the United States Army Infantry. I have a paralegal certificate from Boston University, and I also have a English degree in journalism, concentrating in print writing. What sets me apart here is my ability to do the job full time. We've both heard great things from both of our candidates, and I agree with it 100%. No one leadership or one leader has ever gotten into office and done everything right. You have to have a good team. We have a council that's returning. I think that's going to be instrumental to whoever gets voted into office. The mayor's talked about the Blue Mall. That's great. I hope we get more business in. I want to see us get extra revenue. What are we doing to take care of our local businesses that we have now? What are we doing to take care of our entrepreneurs that have invested in Iowa, that have decided to step up and put their savings, their lives, essentially on the line to support this town? I don't think we're doing nearly enough. I-10 is one of the busiest corridor east and west in the United States of America. And when you look on our town website, all we do is we talk about our restaurants. We're not doing anything else besides saying, hey, come get gas, come eat at our restaurants, to entice these people to come into our town and spend their money and to generate tax dollars. We can have our cake and eat it too, so to speak. We have a lot of critical key infrastructure issues that need to be addressed. Mayor has touched upon a lot of them. We have a lot of things that could be addressed. I think we all know what those are at this time. I want to talk about what we can do in addition to that, all right? We have a lot of money on hand. What are we doing to go above and beyond the normal scope of work? I think that falls back on having to need full-time leadership. The last 3 years, with the hurricanes, with the freeze, with the floods, has shown that we need somebody to be there full-time for us, to be on their behalf. All right, I'm 100% disabled combat veteran. I have that luxury of being able to step up and serve the people full-time. A lot of things that come through here, and it's not a knock on the administration, a lot's gotten done. The fact that anything has gotten done in these trying times is amazing. But we can do more. We can always do more. It doesn't matter who's in office. And what that comes down to is supervision. If you don't have somebody there supervising and making sure that things are being done, things are going to fall through the cracks. All right. The building hardenings, that's great. Why haven't we started to set aside money for that? Why are we reacting to it now that they've been destroyed? We can do improvements while addressing issues. I love the parks idea. That's wonderful. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and right now, outside of the parks, there's nothing for her to do in town unless it's done by the churches. As a community, or as a town, we don't do any events. We have no more events here in town. I want to bring events to generate revenue for our town. I'm talking car shows, art walks, food truck festivals, things that we can have the south side of Thompson Avenue closed down on. And we have the frontage road, we have 90. We can leave our businesses running during these events, and we can generate revenue to do other events for our community and generate additional income. I'm all for doing additional quality of life improvements, but we have to have the money to do it. So why are we not stepping forward, doing farmers markets, doing things like that? It's not a lack of care, it's a lack of time. And that comes from that we need to have full-time leadership, and I will provide that.
Thank you. All right, so we've met all 3 of our candidates. Very good opening. Let's all focus on some brief, simple questions, and hopefully we'll have some solutions or some routes to solutions that are possible for the town of Iowa. If any of you have any questions, we'll just tell us your name and tell us what if you're from the town of Ioway, if you're a voting constituent and or a citizen of the town of Ioway. Anyone, thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Fix. I live in Iowa. I live over on Fontenot. Very adamant about the drainage problems we have. There are a lot of posting on that. Thank you. I did get my ditches cleared. I keep hearing about the other ditches that are cleared. I don't see evidence. That's no story. Why is the city not applying for grants to the federal government to try to do some of these improvements?
Go ahead.
That's from Mayor Hess.
Thank you, sir.
What happens, we do apply for grants, but we don't get them, but we keep trying. And there are grants like in fact, one of them is not a federal government grant, it's a parish grant that we keep doing. We're doing, I think, on North Lightner, that we're fixing to replace the drainage. We put culverts in to improve that drainage from the railroad tracks. So we are looking for them. We're aggressively seeking them. And you know, you have to compete with everybody else that are trying to do that. So we are doing that, we are searching for it. You have to have a special technique, I guess, for grant writing, and we're trying to find someone that can do that for us, so that we do. But we are getting grants. FEMA is helping us. We're also doing some of that. They have a LGAP grant from the state that we apply for pipe bursting, and also for drainage and things like that we apply for. So yeah, we are trying to do that. And we're also trying to do it inside our internal processes. So I don't know if that answers completely what maybe you're looking for, but that's what I'm saying that we're doing now.
Can I expand on?
Yes, you can.
So you said we applied, but we're not successful in getting these grants.
No, we get quite a few of them, but they're not necessarily federal government grants. They're state grants and parish grants is what we do.
Successful in the medical industry, so I'm real familiar with grants. Hospitals get them all the time.
Yes.
A lot of people get grants. And there are professional grant writers. And that's all they do for a living. They charge a fee, yes, but they're very successful. I know some that 95, 96% success rate. Why haven't we approached, why haven't we aggressively gone after it? There's a lot of money available, especially for a small rural town, especially after 2 hurricanes, the pandemic, the flood, the freeze, and all the other stuff.
Actually, what we're focusing on now is FEMA, getting us FEMA reimbursement for hardening those type of items. That is what our focus is right now. There's a lot of documentation and things that you have to support to even try to get those. That is what our focus is right now. It's getting back the $2 million that we've already spent from FEMA, as well as the $1.6 million we're asking FEMA to pay for to upgrade our sewer ponds and other things like that we've identified and are trying to push them to go through that mechanism, because that's a more has a higher probability of succeeding than just the general grants.
But don't you feel that it would be more effective if we had full-time leadership?
You have full-time. Just because I'm not there 8 hours a day at the office don't mean you don't have full-time leadership. You know, I hired a very qualified crew, the public works person, various people that can do those type of things. And that occurs. So when you say full-time or part-time, that's only how it's paid. It's not what actually happens. And I want to bring up, as we talk about and this gives me an opportunity because you brought it up, is during the hurricane, I spent 30 days straight sleeping in that office at City Hall, making sure things were done. So when you say it's full-time or part-time, that's not the level of effort that's being put forward.
Thank you.
It's full-time for everything. It's a part-time thing.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the question. The workings of the capital and the monies, what we need to focus on is a view of solutions, getting into the workings of the capital and the functions of the monies. let's keep those questions quick and brief, because without the right people here, we can't just lay out a set of books and start answering questions. But other than that, thank you, Mayor, thank you for the question. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Monique Charlo. I was born and raised in Iowa. And I used to be proud to tell people I'm from Iowa. Come to Iowa. City Hall, when Miss Perry was there, was the best we've ever had. City Hall now, I'm not proud to say I'm from Iowa. I live in Iowa, but am I proud of it like I used to be? No. Because when I ride around, it's dirty. I've been spelling poop for the last 4 years off and on. I call City Hall constantly and get all kind of excuses of why they can't come out, what they don't smell. They never smell anything when they come out. One time they did, but they kind of had to because it was like in your face. I have people come to my house for parties. We're sitting outside and there goes the smell again that nobody from City Hall ever smells. But you got people riding around all day in trucks, just riding around, passing your house. You call, I call for some other things. They pass my house, don't even look my way. But you call back, oh yeah, they checked it out, really? Because I'm standing at the driveway and I just saw them roll by my house. What are they doing? They don't cut the grass. You call about the nuisances in your community. I like a park in my neighborhood. You name Ashbridge, you name back here. I live right off of Bauer Street. You didn't name a park in my neighborhood for my children in my community. It's supposed to be one town for everybody. That's how it used to be. That's how I would like to see Iowa again.
I believe that question
What
was,
are we gonna do?
I believe that question was for the mayor.
Yeah.
What was the question?
What are we gonna do about when you call you to excuse?
Let's talk about two things. The reason I talked about the other places on the parks is because I have been spending money in that area, and I make sure that when I come into office, all areas got equal billing. And one of the things was the drainage on store that we spent that none of the other mayors before that time. That old store right behind the park that had to be done. I made sure we spent $500,000 to get that done. But then, no, that was what I initiated when I came in. Now, as far as the sewer thing, and I want to talk about this because this is an individual case that you brought up. One of the things is, we don't just sit around doing it. We have contacted a number of things. We've contacted the engineering firm that done it. We've talked about with the local public works person. And one of the things is, and we've talked about this, is you're in violation of code because your exhaust on your sewer is under your roof.
No.
The code says it has to be outside the roof.
Okay.
And that's how come the smell takes. When you put in when we do a pipe bursting, that takes care of all the cracks and everything, whereas before the pipe bursting, there were probably a lot of those fumes were escaping all along that lines because there were cracks in the lines and the pipe bursting couldn't take, was supposed to fix that. So it does concentrate.
On Wednesday and every.
No, that's a smoke test.
Well, the smoke test, every house has stuff coming out of the yard except for mine.
That's one thing that we've directed them to be able to go and fix
You
those
keep
kind
saying
of
the roof, Mayor, you keep saying the roof. When we didn't have a roof after the hurricanes, we didn't have a roof, the stacks were there. Before we got everything finalized, the insurance company had to come and inspect it to make sure it was right before it was finalized. There's nothing wrong with my roof. For 4 years, I've been smelling poop. You never smell it. You don't want to smell it. You ride down my street, you don't even look sideways. You go. You don't stop. You don't talk to us.
Okay, it sounds like we have that's a mechanical question and a mechanical issue. That's something that, I appreciate you voicing your concern, but sitting in this forum, I don't think it would be fair for the mayor to actually just try to answer that question. But I think his office can get together and figure something out to get you an answer as soon as possible.
Well, I've been waiting for it.
In fact, we're currently working on that, and that's where I directed them to get back to the people that done the pipe bursting.
Yes, sir.
Ask us, have they ever come across this type of issue?
Yes,
Because
sir.
it is very strange.
Mr. Max, would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I don't know. That's where leadership comes in, and I'm not on you, but when citizens have an issue, we can't not address it. Obviously, you're aware of it, correct, sir? And you know that happened.
We are trying to fix it.
Why hasn't she been communicated with? And I'm not trying to attack you. As leaders, that's our job. We need to make sure the worse the issue, we to speak with them. And that will quell a lot of these issues that we have, I think, across the board.
We've communicated what,
Yeah,
if
yes,
there's
sir.
disagreements and we can't help that.
Yes, sir.
That's-
And I mean, in general though, too. And as far as the maintenance and all of that, you know, that's been a big issue with campaigning. I understand that. Also, leadership comes in. I understand, sir, full-time pay versus not pay, but that's where supervising comes in. You have supervisors that you hired, but if they're not, and I'm not knocking them at all, because I know that they're out there. I know there's a lot of stuff being done. But if they don't have any type of supervision over them, which falls to whoever's in office, things are going to slip through the cracks. And this is by no means a knock to the town. Things are getting done. Y'all just look around, okay? Things are getting done. But if we have management that plans and pre-plans instead of acting in a reactionary way, things will get done that makes more sense. If we are more transparent and communicate better with the people, there will be less frustration. Because I'm your opponent, sir, and I see the stuff that's being done, and I'm not arguing that with you at all. But where things lie differently is in execution. And I think that will go a long way for the town moving forward, regardless of whomever is elected mayor. I think that should be a practice that we adopt.
Thank you for the question. Mr. Watkins, would you like to add anything?
I would. I believe that what we've had here the past 4 years and previous to that is that it's become a reactionary problem. You have a sewage issue, you have a drainage issue, you have issues that pop up, and instead of having a program in place, having management in place, proper management, you're not going to be able to take care of those things in a timely way. You're going to be ping-ponging from one issue to the next. Brief example, if you're going to mow the ditches in this town, why can't we have it in a uniform method? Somebody on, back here in this subdivision here, you call and say, hey, when are you going to come get the ditches? According to our schedule, you're going to be approximately this many days out. It's a simple task. Do you have an emergency? No, I don't. Are you okay if we get to it on our schedule? Great. That's communication. That's the one thing that I think has to prevail in anything that we do is communication. The fact that I don't know, the fact that you don't know, the fact that Mr. Mercer doesn't know, I'm assuming Mayor Hess knows. But I don't believe that we get the information to us in a timely fashion. If we have a boil order in place, how do you find out? What century are we in? We have an ability to get that information out instead of you finding out from your neighbor or on Facebook. There's got to be a way that information can get to each and every person in town.
Okay,
Can I
Mr.
answer-
Hess,
can
would you
I
like-
answer that?
Yes, sir, you can.
There is a way, and it's up to the citizens that want to grant it. We have a red alert system that we put in place about 2 years ago that would address those things on boil orders. If we have any kind of problems, we send it out and we text to that person's phone to let them know what's going on. And as far as, we don't just hop back and forth. We have very well thought out. We've got my public works person sits there and schedules things. But first of all, we're at the mercy of getting equipment. We had to buy a new mower. It took us 6 months. We could not function with the mower we had because it was broken. So we had no choice but to wait till it was done. And so when it comes back in, a lot of times people will mow their own area and things like that, and we try to get those areas that aren't hit. And so there is plans. We do have plans on digging ditches. We try to get the places that have the worst flooding first. We make sure that we go and do the blowing out of the culverts to make sure that they're clear. So to say it's not planned out is incorrect. We also have on our website, Iowa website, where we put in those places that we're, I guess, having issues and that we're having to file the lawsuits to be able to get those properties cut in place or torn down. we're listing that on our website that you can go and look and see those type of items, where we're at on projects, you know, what projects are going on. So that's, you know, you talk about
And they can come to
communicating
your
that.
office, and they can come to your office.
Well, they can come there and immediately, now the front office, the ladies at the front office don't know what's going on because all they're doing is taking the money, you know, for the bills and doing that. They don't know what's physically going out. But you can always call Public Works or the Cindy or town clerk or myself and ask, and we will give you the answer on that. So,
Thank
you know, for us to say all our employees know what's going on all within town is not correct either, because that's not their job. Their job is to do what they have to do and not necessarily know what's going on in some other section.
Yes, sir.
I got two questions. Did you, have you updated your contact information? Because I had to call the town clerk to get your information. And I went directly through the clerk court, for qualified.
That is an actual.
Well, it didn't go through.
Well, first of the thing is, one of the things that we're working on is the AT&T tower that's going on in the middle of the town, because we know AT&T has sorry service here for if you've got phone service with AT&T. And we work with them, and they're right now trying to hook up that tower so that once that goes in, those phones will go through, because I've had calls on my phone, and I didn't, my wife would call me, and 3 hours later, I would get, oh, Darlene called at this time. Well, I can't
Okay.
help that type
Okay.
of situation.
Yes, sir. But what I think that Mr. Mill and I was trying to elaborate on is something that this is 70th Street. You see that's a sidewalk, correct?
Yes.
All right. 2 weeks prior to that, I was having my sidewalks edged on First Street, which is a wonderful thing. It makes the town look very good, very good, and I appreciate it. I brought it up. I asked him to cut the 7th Street sidewalks. I gave 2 weeks to do. I'm not going to complain. My job is, you know me right now. I'm not going to tear you all apart because things are getting done. But if there is a plan, why did I have to go and do the 2nd Street sidewalks?
Well, first of all, sidewalks is something that we've been really stressing just recently. We don't have enough employees to do everything all the time. And I mean, that's the
But if the
basic.
sidewalks are getting edged.
Okay.
Well, it's not only the edge, it's
Let's-
the edging.
Gentlemen, let's keep this a question and answer.
Well, I know, but I think the
If
confusion.
you gentlemen want to question each other later, y'all can do that also.
I feel you were confused, sir, but that's what we're talking about, you know, on, some things are slipping through the crack.
But they
There
didn't
might be a
even know we
plan,
had
but we don't see that.
A councilman didn't even know we had a sidewalk right there. And she used to go to church there, so how you don't know there's a sidewalk where you used to go to church? It's by my house.
It's a very good
But they
question.
never cut the trees, they never trimmed the grass. She didn't even know there was a sidewalk there. Old people gotta walk on the street to go to church. The little kids gotta go around the corner to go to church.
That's a very good point you can bring up with Mr. Hess and his offices. Mr. Natale, sir.
Thank you. My name is Alan. I live outside the city limits, but I've got a vested interest in the city. And so my question would be, for each of you candidates, what would a successful term look like? 4 years ago, what are 2 or 3 accomplishments that you guys would have been able to put in place to say, hey, we're doing the right thing, we're moving in the right direction? So I'll just pose that question to you guys.
Thank you, Mr.
What your
Natale.
vision looks like for a successful term?
You go ahead and start, Mr. Watkins.
Can y'all hear me without that? One of the things that, well, there are several things that I think that I would like to do. The only thing that I can promise the folks of Iowa is that I'm going to do everything that I can to make it better for the people of Iowa. Okay? I can't make promises about what we can change in the next 6 months or the next 2 years. I think there's a huge task ahead, because I think there are some deficiencies that have to be addressed. I can get into that a little bit later, but I'll tell you, one of the things that I'd like to do is to, and I know a lot of people talk about the Rabbit Festival. I've walked door to door. I'm still walking door to door. And I will continue to do it until election day. But the one thing that I hear, actually there's a ton of things I hear, but the number one thing is drainage, Rabbit Festival, sewer, ditches, I can go down the list, but the drainage is the largest one. But what I'd like to do is to see the Rabbit Festival come back. If it's not the Rabbit Festival, that's it's under a different board. If they choose not to come back, I'd like to have a festival here for the people of Iowa. I'd also like to see a music festival come in. I love Cajun music. I love French music. I like all types of music. I would like to have something for the community. One of the things that I would like to see happen, don't know if we can do it because there's always lawyers involved in things, but I'd like to see a couple of blocks on Main Street closed down one Saturday a month, 3 or 4 hours, farmers market and trade days. There's a lot of people in this community that do things on the side. They are low income. They would like to have a place they could sell those things. It would be a good community outreach. Okay? Those are a few of the things I'd like to accomplish. I think we have a huge task ahead to even get to that point. It's gonna require not just the people of the town getting behind and finding out and being kept informed of what's going on, but we also need people that live outside the city that are willing to come in and help us get where we need to go. I think we need to get away from the knee-jerk reactions of trying to get in businesses that may be over our heads at this point. We're not a big enough community. Rouse's is a good idea, but Rouse's, I highly doubt Rouse's will come in here because there's not enough clientele to support it, okay? Same thing with the roundabouts. I believe that instead of doing a knee jerk, I think there's a lot of different things that can be looked at. Somebody asked me this earlier, I recently was over in Daphne, Alabama. I don't know if you've ever been through there. I got through there and I was like, what in the world has happened here? But they took their same issue that they had and they addressed it without roundabouts, and it's got the traffic flowing, and that's a very busy area. They've got the Pro Bass Shop, they've got a lot of stuff through there, and it was able to take care of that without having to disrupt gas stations that are already in place. They were able to work within the confines of what they had and make it work. But all of that goes back to planning. I don't know that there's been a plan that has been developed to see through the next 4 years, the next 8 years, something that the people want. Why can't we go back to just having some common sense about certain things and start working toward what is going to be best for the town of Iowa? I believe as far as my leadership goes with management, with individuals, I would really like the opportunity to show you what I can.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Mercer?
It's Macer, sir.
Macer.
I've gotten it my whole life, y'all. That's all right. It's my
Across the map.
To elaborate a little bit on what Mr. Watkins has said, I've already asked in depth about the Rabbit Festival. They make more money at the Coliseum in a day than what they have on their best weekends here. The fact that they're a nonprofit and they choose to donate funds here to Iowa is amazing. But it's not going to come back, which is why I don't know if y'all have spoken to me. That's one of my big things I want to do is to bring festivals back. There's a lot that we can do. As far as I know, we're the only town along I-9 or Highway 90 that doesn't do anything. We don't utilize our town space a whole lot. We need to do that. It'll generate revenue for us, and more revenue we get allows for more quality of life improvements and projects. I have an 8-year-old daughter. There's nothing for her to do, and I've talked to a ton of people. I've talked to a ton of people, and it's the same thing. So the problem that we're going to run into here in 10, 12 years is our youth are going to grow up, and they're going to leave Iowa because there's nothing here for them. We're doing nothing to invest in the future generation of Iowa. We have wonderful senior citizen programs here. Our churches do wonderful programs, but as a community, we're falling short. When Mr. Watkins says, it falls a lot to the people, which is why events like this are so important. It puts the power of the people in your hands. You guys can come and interface with us, and we can talk to you about your needs. So to address directly that question, I want to see events come to town. I want to generate additional revenue. I've talked with a lot of our local businesses already about ways that we can support them, because especially after the last couple of years we've had, the fact that they've decided to stay and invest their time and energy and money in Iowa, that means a lot to me as a citizen. And I think it should mean a lot to us as a town and to all of you out there. We need to make sure to do our best to take care of them and to try to generate additional revenue and bring in other businesses. And by doing that, we'll have extra funds. We can do larger scale events. So I've also talked about starting, we used to have the Iowa Merchants Association, that's long since defunct. I've talked with them about creating an Iowa First initiative and an Iowa Chamber of Commerce, where local business owners can help support one another, and we can encourage residents to shop and keep it local here in Iowa. We have a lot of great businesses, but our oldest businesses, I think, are 38 years old here in town, roughly, give or take. And that's really great, but a lot of our businesses have struggled. They have a lot of issues, and I've looked into trying to open up a storefront here in town, and it was prohibitively expensive. So I think if that there is a lot that we can do as far as that goes. So I've touched on events for our children. You know, everything's going to go back towards investing in Iowa ultimately. So that would be the number one thing, is to see our businesses improve. Of course, yes, if y'all have been canvassing, Iowa's a real small place until you try to meet, you know, the 4,000 people here. And whenever everyone you've talked to has said the same thing. I've had one person tell me that they would not change anything out of about the 600 people I've met so far, that they wouldn't change anything. And of course, it's the drainage. We can address those issues. You know, it's the sewer. It is the roads. And that they're being addressed, and they're being addressed as well as the administration says that they can. I feel that we can do a little bit better.
Good stuff, Mr. Mason. The one thing that Mr. Hess can really add to this is that, and it's from my point of view, is that we're all on the outside looking in, Mr. Hess. So a lot of these questions are being posed at yourself, and we've got some council members here in town. A lot of these should be posed to the council. A lot of things you're at the mercy of the council.
Can I address on some of that? Because
Yes, sir.
that's how I was going
And
to approach it anyway.
the money-
Mr. Natale's question first, sir.
The monies and the capital and the workings is a little more complicated than efficient. I understand that. So,
Let me kind of address what I think what you're trying to say, and
I'm
I'll
just
try
trying
to
to
do
keep
that.
it, I want to keep us headed in the right
Yes,
direction.
yes, and the thing is, you know, one of the things I've always been is I was going to be very apparent, you know, very transparent in everything I do. So I make sure the council is involved with all of this. And I think some of what I'm hearing is some of the communication I give, you know, kind of says, well, you're jumping the gun on things. But we're not. We're trying to. We talk about the roads. First of all, the DOT has to do the study. They're fixing to do that. We're not automatically going to go put 4 roundabouts in. We asked them for a solution, saying, we're going to give you an open solution. You know, tell us what we can do that would effectively work. Widening the roads, changing the turning lanes. You know, look at all of that and give us a solution from the state, because first of all, that's a state road. They have to approve it. It has to be for what they want occurs to occur. And so, you know, we don't just arbitrarily say, oh, we want to do it. We ask them, the council asks us to get together, and we've been getting with them and asking them to tell us the solution, given all the parameters. You know, we've got subdivisions to the west of us that are coming in there, all the school traffic. We talk about the Blue Mall. Everybody wants to see something done at the Blue Mall, and we're talking with them, but any business we have will just compound the traffic. So we're not just haphazardly or just jumping. We are thinking about it, and what happens is I get out as part of my transparency and say, hey, we're looking at this. Yes, it's part of a big picture. We don't always bring. We talked about the last meeting about a bypass from asking the state for money from Miller to 90 on the other side of the school to relieve that traffic. And so to say that the council is involved, they are very involved in this. And we have if you ever come to our council meeting, you're going to find our council meetings are very different from anybody else. We do not preclude anybody from stepping up and bringing anything forward. Now, we may not be able to make a decision on it.
Sherman, do you mind? Mr. Natale asked us a question, and the question was directed at all three of us. And we've answered ours, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I was going to get that, but just answering that.
And I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you at a later time about what it is.
But as far as that type of activity, the council is involved. Let me finish it up, and then
Hang on, Mr. Watkins, Mr. Mason. I know you want to explain yourself. I was trying to help you with that, but to answer Mr. Natale's question, a successful 4 years.
What a successful 4 year
Yes.
business will be, first we'll have our infrastructure completely hardened so that the next time a hurricane class 4 hits Iowa, we won't have electricity outages. We actually had water the whole time, which was the only municipality in the Southwest that had water the whole time. Our sewers were worked. That's part of what I'm looking at, us hardening that. Is making sure that our police are well funded, that we have a new police station that will be able to address any of the things that come up. These are the things that I think in 4 years needs to be done. And it's not through my words, it's through the councils working with me and citizens coming, bringing things forward and saying, let's do this. Because I am not the all-I-see guru. I let people come forward and say, let's do this, and if it's a good idea, then we push it.
Good stuff.
I also,
What we're worried about,
What are you gonna do for the next 4 years?
hardening.
hang on a second. Let's keep heading in the right direction here. Mr. Natale's question was, what would be a successful term? I'm hearing a lot of vision, I'm hearing a lot of ideals, but
Well, that's part of being successful. All those things will be put in place.
But what do the three of you pose as an immediate step to making something happen? Start with you, Mr. Hess.
Well, what I'm doing is bringing it in front of the council right now. We're identifying those programs and committing funds on those programs.
Good. Mr. Watkins.
I believe it starts with the people. It has to start with the people. People are going to have to be involved, and it's going to have to be communicated from the mayor's office. Hey, this is what we're looking at. This is what we've got going on. Put your 2 cents in, because without new and fresh ideas, it is left to the few. And when it's left to the few, you have what you have.
So you're going to take it back to the people. Mr. Mason.
Absolutely. You guys have already heard my vision, which I thought was in direct response to Mr. Natale, because that's what plans are, right? It's execution of vision. At the end of 4 years, everything that I've just told you about, if it's not getting done, I'll be transparent. I'll let you know where the holdup is and what's the problem. You won't have to come banging on my door to try to find out what the issue is. There's a lot of other things here in the 21st century that we can do to maintain transparency. Just because it's available for people to find out for themselves doesn't mean that that's transparency, all right? It's making yourself available to the people. I want to bring events back to the town. I want to take care of our local businesses and address the key critical infrastructure issues that we have. All right, I want to improve our quality of life while addressing those issues that have plagued our town constantly long before Mayor Hess has taken office. And I can't guarantee you that those will be fixed because I don't have that inside view, but I will let everyone know what is happening, where the holdup is, and communicate clearly and effectively with the community.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Any other questions? Chief of Police, Mr. Keith Benson.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up quality of life. That's the ultimate vision for all of us, to have a high quality of life in a safe community. I want to ask each one of you specifically in your next 4 years, what is your vision to help us improve the performance of the police department specifically?
Mr. Mason.
All right, without having looked at the budget and having it in front of me, remember, we've talked before about the equipment needs that y'all have, that you need, and about putting cameras up and lights. This was long before I even talked about running for mayor, and you spoke with me about issues. I've reached out to you, tried to sit with you, and to plan out what the lay of the land is and what can be fixed. It all comes down to ultimately what's in the budget and what money we can allocate for you. Because trust me, between y'all and the fire department, y'all keep us safe and secure. And I want to make sure that we take care of both of y'all. I'm going to start sitting in on the fire, but I know that doesn't directly address what you're saying, but it all goes. Yeah, I understand that. But yes, sir. Yeah, no, you come from, I got it, but they also help with our security and our safety and ultimately keeping our insurance numbers low. And I'll mention that because I forgot to mention it earlier. But it all comes down to the need, just because I know that there's a great working relationship with the police department and the current administration. There is no need for that to change. And it shouldn't change no matter who's in. Y'all protect us. Y'all keep my family safe. I want to do whatever financially is available to make sure to keep that and to keep it fair. I want to make sure that we take care of our officers, to make it where we're competitive, or at least force keeping the pay fair and equal for them and competitive. I don't care if it's competitive with Lake Charles or smaller towns like Welch. We need to make sure it starts with our officers, I think, and then it builds up to larger issues like body cams, which I know was recently addressed, and other equipment, whether it's cruisers, training, whatever you all need. You work with it. I'll bring it up to the council, and we can try to make a plan, just like any other administration. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Mr. Watkins.
As far as the police department goes, I'm real big on all of our services that we have, whether it's the police department, whether it's fire, whether it's first responders. We need all of that, especially the police. I'm taken back by everything that has happened over the last 4 or 5 years when it comes to the police. They protect us, and they should have every bit of support from us, because otherwise we will not have that quality of life that we need. If we do not support our police department, we're going to have a rough go. We've got bad times now, but imagine what it would be like if we didn't support. The support has to be there, regardless. Okay. Now, on the other side of that, because I am very conservative, and when somebody asks me if I'm MAGA, I'm to the right of it. I'm not ashamed of it. But when it comes to that, we've got to make sure we don't have waste. That's the only thing that I'm going to say. If we need anything that you need, should be there.
Good stuff. Mayor Hess.
Take the police department, and one of my focuses on, and it's not just because of police, but because we should have high quality individuals there that are well paid, well trained, and well equipped. Now I understand that, Iowa is a small town. We can't have as many officers as maybe we would envision to have, but we've got to have those structures in place that help us. And that's some of the things that we've done. We bought a base for a camera in our dispatch office that we're going to put up small cameras that we can monitor roads where we're having problems. Because when they see the police vehicles come down, first off the bat, they're not doing anything. But we want to catch them breaking into houses and breaking things ahead of time. And we can't have as many officers as we want, but we can have the technology and the things that will assist us in being able to do a good job. And that's some of the things that we've been spending money for in the police, not only keeping up all the equipment, but making sure not only do the officers have their cameras on them, they have them in the car, but that's not only for the police, that's also for our citizens, because we expect them to treat every citizen in town the same way, to be respectful, irregardless of the reason. And that gives us the ability to monitor that and make sure we get those people doing it. We're trying to put in EOC, so we can weather the hurricanes. But that will serve both the fire department and the police department to be able to respond to things with a common thing. So I guess from my perspective is I'm very supportive of it. I think we still got some steps to take, because I would like to see our officers be paid as much as anybody in the parish, and have them want to stay and live here and be a part of our community.
Thank you, Mayor. We're up against our time frame. I'm gonna do a brief recap of all the questions. Drainage, mechanical operations, the vision for the city, support for our infrastructure, and the mercy, being at the mercy of the state. In most of these situations, we're at the mercy of the state and parish in some of these situations. And communication. It sounds like communication was a big key here. And also, I think the town needs to be more involved, is what people are talking about, and bringing it to the council. And bringing people in to actually, if you have, we don't have to wait for a forum like this. People should know that they can go to the websites, come to the city council meetings, come to meetings like this, and we can resolve these things as a community. I think all of our candidates did a great job this evening. We've got a few more moments before we get up against our deadline here. I would like to offer anyone else another, please, go ahead. Any more questions?
Hi, my name's Olivia White, and I am newly here to Iowa, just a year now. So, and I have been halfway around the world and back because I am also a disabled combat veteran.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you. So I have seen and been to many a community, and what drew me to this community is its smallness and how everybody is so welcoming. The one thing that I have had issues with is that community downtown, how do I find out, what can you do for me as a new citizen, you know, so that I can find out about different things. I went to a board meeting, just as an example, last month. I heard that we're getting roads to be fixed. Next thing I know, next week after that, it's my road that's being all dug up and everything. There's a breakdown somewhere in there. Why wasn't it put out, you know, okay, we're doing street work on this street, this street, this street. It's still not done. And nobody can give me an answer when, and this is the point I'm trying to make is that there's a breakdown in communication with the parish. As a newcomer here, what are you going to do to welcome me, to want to come out and help you achieve all this community stuff? I've met you several times, Mr. Mayor. I don't even know what your name is. You've never even come up to me and said hello. And to me, that's wrong. That doesn't say much for this community. If you want me and the rest of the community to be behind you, how are you, and what are you going to do to bring us in, and to want us to help you, to achieve this? We all have to work on this together.
Mr. Mason, you want to address that first?
Yeah. First of all, thank you again for your service. First of all, it's got to start with, we have to have events. We have to do things. We have to have community. The official town webpage does have a newcomer or a welcome to Iowa section. I'll give the political answer. It's under construction. We're doing as best as what we can. There's plenty of things that we can do. And I appreciate and I applaud you for taking an interest, especially being new to the area. We have residents that live here their whole life. And you see how woefully disappointing this turnout is. Whenever we have every qualified candidate just about that's on the docket for Iowa running here, and this is the one-stop shop to meet you. So thank you for taking the time to do it. And ultimately, it's about communication. There's a lot more to transparency. We need to update our website. need to update all of our contact information. A lot of that's been done recently, so that's a positive step forward. But you're correct, we can be more welcoming. We are a small town. And somewhere along the way, I think we've kind of lost our small town charm. You know, I grew up in the Midwest, and everything, you know, it's like a John Mellencamp song. I don't see that here, and I want to bring it back. And regardless of the November 8th outcome, there's things that I'm going to work with the town about to try to make it a more welcoming place.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Mr. Watkins?
So, I'm assuming, and I hate to make this assumption, that you got water at your place.
Today, yes.
So, but I
But
mean,
that's debating on the quality of it
but
now.
I'm just saying, so did you go in and take care of your deposit and everything at that point?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that I think would be very helpful, especially for people who are coming in new, you have to get services in the town. If you get a service, there should be a packet that they can hand to you and say, hey, look, here's what you got. Do you have any questions? Let me see if I can help you. I'll point you to this direction, that direction,
I have
whatever
gone
it may
from
be.
one end to the next to,
But it should
here,
be,
go there.
there should be a way for people who are coming in new to have the information that they need. I've been here for 4 years. I still don't have all the information. So basically what I'm saying is, as you move in, there should be something that triggers that you get a packet that says, here's all the services available, here's where you can find this is what this is, here's contact numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Harris?
I guess, kind of just start down, as far as a reason, I am somewhat of an introvert. I've never done another campaign except this one. And yeah, I trip on my feet a lot of times, and that's just by the nature. I guess I was one that always get your hands dirty, get in to solve the problem, and maybe not communicate as well, because I am not a politician per se. I am a politician because I was elected, but by nature I'm not, because I don't feel comfortable always being friendly or out savvy, even when you're not happy. So I spend a lot of time trying to do my effort of making sure that what your concerns are addressed, and that they're fixed, and that they're done right, and that it's done effectively, that it's cost effective. And then, yes, we have some failures and we're working on them. Before I took office, there was nothing as far as websites or as far as communication of things like that, of what's going on. You know, we even tape all of these meetings because nobody else does, so that we can try to get them involved, so that you can get involved without having to sit in the meetings and at least know what's going on. So I am not perfect, but I do try my best, and, you know, all I can say is I apologize if it wasn't good enough. I'll try harder.
Thank you. Okay, so we're getting up against our timeline here, and I personally would like to thank all of you for showing up. I am personally from this town of Iowa, born and raised here. K through 12, my parents, pillars of the community. I'm familiar with everyone in the building, most of you. It's a good thing when people show up and voice their opinion when they need to. It's a bad thing when people don't show up, but yet they're the first ones to gripe at our elected officials. I myself, being an elected official, it's hard to make everybody happy. These gentlemen that are running for office are going to find that out if they are duly elected. Mr. Hess is up against the wall constantly, our police chief, our council members. We mentioned the fire board and the fire district. They're a little bit different entity, but they're up against a lot of stuff too. We got gravity drainage people, we got police jurors, we got school board members. We've got elected officials that are constantly up against trying to please everyone. So it's a very good thing when people show up like this. Every question was a good question. You may or may not have gotten the answer you wanted. Please address it with the council, with the candidates, and/or Mr. Mayor himself, and bring it to light, rather than being being an argument. Bring it in a discussion and come to a solution. As a community, this little town, I can remember when we didn't lock the doors in it. I can remember when there was one major gas station and one major largest city in the state and the 5th largest city in the state, or vice versa. People are constantly moving. This little town's gonna grow. The infrastructure's really not quite there. We're in between two of the largest, most trafficked corridors and one of the most trafficked railroads in the nation. We're under some pressure, and we're at their mercy. So the pressure that's going to be put on these gentlemen, and the pressure that's on our elected officials and our council and our people of our community is way more than the average person walking the streets of Iowa can understand. So I really appreciate all of you coming. If you have further questions, please get with each and every one of these guys or any one of our council members here. I know them all personally. Great people. They'll be happy to answer or come to the next meeting. We've got approximately 6 to 8 minutes left. I'd like a closing statement from each of the candidates. And we're going to start right now. Mr. Watkins, you go first, sir.
Closing statement, huh?
No, it ain't closed.
Yeah. I would like your support. Simply because I believe that I have the leadership ability. I have the ability to understand how people work. I have the ability to communicate. I have been able to close some rather large deals with some folks in the corporate world. I understand that there are some things that have to be done as an ambassador for the town of Iowa. And I'd like the opportunity to show you what I could accomplish with your help. And I remind you, if there's no help, it's going to be very difficult to accomplish. But I'd like that opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, please.
I would like to, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity for the first 4 years. You know, it's been very challenging, and I hope I've showed you that I have the capabilities to be able to manage and get us through those hard times. And now I'm looking forward to having those times that aren't quite as stressful, to show you what I can accomplish in the town with your help. You know, we've done a lot. There's a lot more to be done, and if you compare the last 4 years with the previous 12 or 15, you'll see that we accomplished a tremendous amount. You know, we're trying to structure our public works so that we hire people from the town, not from outside the town, so that they can work here and have families while they're here working for the town. You know, that's something that wasn't thought of before, that I've been able to try to work in and get it established like a true business where they have benefits and they have ability to have wives and be able to have the benefits to support them. You know, that is the things that takes y'all's help, helping me convince the council that that's what we need to do and moving forward in that direction. I know I'm not perfect. Like I say, I'm not a public speaker. That's why I get tongue-tied a lot of times and things like that. But I do have in my heart the intention for getting everything fixed that can be fixed. And yes, sometimes it disturbs me when we can't figure out a problem, even though I know there should be an answer to it. And all we can do is just keep pushing forward and trying to get that answer. And, you know, I really honor and think I would be very honored if I'm re-elected to be able to complete this, because one more term is about all I think I could be able to accomplish at my age right now. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mason.
First of all, thank you to everyone who came out. Thank you to our qualified candidates in Iowa for the school board, for the council, police chief. This event isn't about us. It's about people being able to come out and interface with us and get to know who we are. So thank you to y'all for coming out too. Just like the other candidates, of course I'm here. I want you all to vote for me. But if I am elected mayor at the end of 4 years, it's going to be a lot easier on me. You all will see through every action that I take, day in and day out, my quality of character and my ability to lead Iowa. So I will have a much easier campaign in 4 years than what I have right now. Give me the opportunity to serve you all. I'm convicted to do the job. I'll do the job full-time. I will be available full-time. I'll be 100% transparent. It's what I would want as a citizen of Iowa. It's what we deserve as citizens, or as citizens of Iowa. And with my leadership experience and my ability to manage, I feel I am the best choice for y'all to lead the town. And I know how to build a team and work together with a team. No leader, no general has ever accomplished anything by himself without working together with the team. That's multi-factor. That's with the council, other members of the administration, the police, and ultimately the citizens. We have to know where our shortcomings are to be able to address them. And I will build an efficient team, and we will work together. And I promise you that. And regardless of the November 8th outcome, I'll be here for you, and I'm going to work tirelessly on behalf of Iowa, no matter what happens. I like to tell people whenever I'm canvassing, it's just going to be a lot easier for the town to have to deal with me if I'm elected mayor. It's the best way to be able to effectively make a change. Thank you.
Well, we thank y'all. And I appreciate all the candidates stressing that we're a team. Even though these candidates are running for the same office, it's refreshing to know that in this community, we still understand we're all a team. Good questioning, community, let's say the community coming together to find common need and resolve is the best thing for this little town of Iowa. And we can all leave here, go home knowing that we've accomplished something as a team for the community of Iowa. By the grace of God in this country, we can do things like this. And in this community, it's going to be possible for a long time if we keep meeting like this and make sure that we elect the right officials to take us into the future. Please remember to vote, tell your neighbor to vote, be careful on the way home, and shake some hands and meet these guys and talk to them on your way out. We appreciate all of you coming. I appreciate being able to be your moderator tonight, and y'all have a good one. Go Tigers.